So far since the release of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, we've seen some incredible looking cards and some fetching some really impressive prices. So today we'll be going through the top 10 most expensive Scarlet and Violet era cards that we can pull. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so we're diving back into Scarlet and Violet. We're moving away from Sword and Shield. We've been looking at a lot of Sword and Shield recently. I want to be focusing a little bit more on Scarlet and Violet because we have just had Twilight Masquerade, which actually has surprised me a fair amount. That set has actually been doing very well. Single card prices are going crazy and the booster boxes are holding and shifting up a little bit in some places. So today we're looking at TCG Player at the top 10 most expensive Scarlet and Violet era cards and seeing where they lie. We have a couple of honorable mentions and yeah, let's just get into it. Alright, so first honorable mention we have is my boy Groudon from Paradox Rift. This is an absolutely stunning card that has seen some big gains recently. Doing really well. Like, in all honesty, it's doing very well. It looks amazing. It gives me this Godzilla type vibes. Kind of like the Tyranitar from Paldea Evolved, but in my opinion, I actually prefer this than the Tyranitar. So this is $58. Over the past 3 months, this big boy has nearly tripled in price. That is pretty impressive. I mean, Paradox Rift has been doing okay, right? The booster boxes are slowly ticking up. I think a lot of people are appreciating how great some of these cards are. And this one is very, very nice. I mean, I remember when the spoilers came out for this and it was just like, this is incredible. Like, I love the artwork and I've always loved Groudon. So we go back a year. I mean, it hasn't been out a full year. We can really see that this card is the highest it has been so far. I think this is a playable card. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe this is a playable card, which is, you know, had an impact on the price of it. But this is still an absolutely beautiful card. It is just a normal illustration rate. It is not an SIR, which is doing pretty well. Then the next honorable mention is the Roaring Moon from Paradox Rift. So both of the top Paradox Rift cards just miss out on the top 10, which is kind of brutal, right? But the Roaring Moon has had an interesting ride. I love the artwork of this card. I ranked it quite high in my tier list. $67 right now. And it's actually doing the best it has done over the past 3 months. If we look back at when the set first came out, I may go, yeah, look, it hasn't been out a year. But this card was the most expensive at the time in the Scarlet and Violet era. And I was like, wow. You know what? It's doing pretty well. Ton of packs are getting opened, and then here he is. I mean, the pull rates are still pretty high. You know, it's really tough. No, when I mean high, I mean like really difficult. I think it was like 1 in 700 packs or something like that when I did the pull rate video on this. So it is going to be very, very difficult to get some of these special illustration rares. And I think with Paradox Rift moving into Temporal and then Twilight Masquerade, we're starting to see the pull rates of the top end cards getting harder and harder and harder. And in some cases, especially with Twilight Masquerade, the pull rates are actually tougher to pull, like a certain SIR, compared to ORs. Like the Giratina from Lost Origin, for example, is apparently easier to pull than the Greninja. You know, so just missing out on top 10, Roaring Moon, but still a really good one. Right, number 10, we have the Perrin coming in at $71, nearly $72 from Twilight Masquerade. This card hasn't been out that long. Twilight Masquerade hasn't been around that long. But overall, this card has been doing reasonably well for a full art trainer. This is an SIR from the set. It forms with the Growlithe you get from the set for some really awesome artwork, and I think it's pretty cool. I do like that style, and it's quite a nice looking trainer card. I'm not a huge fan of the biggest cards in the set being like trainer cards. I kind of find it a bit boring. I want them to be Pokemon, but I can't deny how nice certain art is, and this is certainly one of those which I think I ranked quite high when I did my tier list because it's just nice art. You know, I can't lie, it just looks really, really nice. But yeah, coming in at 71/7, close to 72 at number 10, and it's the newest set. Then number 9, we have Iron Crown. This is an interesting one. Now, one thing I will say about a lot of these prices is, of course, they will change over time. So you may be watching this list down the line, and it could be different, right? As a recording of today, this is the current top 10. But some of these prices, we'll get to that, are very close. Like, they're literally a couple of dollars between them, so anything can change. But Iron Crown EX, this one's had a weird ride. Like, this is from Temporal Forces. This was the big chase card. It was around $50. It went a bit mental, right? It was like $50. Now, when this set pre-order prices came out, I felt like they were quite low because at the time, I think it was the Iron Leaves, which was the most expensive at like 55, and then it was the Iron Crown at 50. And I was like, wow, that seems kind of low, right? And then they found out how tough it was to pull, and then bang, it shot right up to around about $100 or 95, and then it dropped all the way back down to where it was when it came out, and then it's bounced back up again. strange stuff is going on. $80 though for this card right now. And like I say, Temporal Forces pull rates are tough. This is a very, very nice card. I do like this. I like the Iron Leaves as well. But this is still one of the biggest cards from Temporal Forces. Not the biggest, which we'll get to later on. But this is still one of the biggest cards that you can pull from quite a tough set. Next up, we got the Iono from Paldea Evolved. Iono has been doing very well, and it's been doing well since it's come out. You know, it was the most expensive card from the set, no longer is. It's now the second most expensive, with, you know, the Tyranitar catching up, of course. $80 though for the Iono. There was so much hype for this card, right? When it came in from Japanese, I remember it was like over $1,000 from Clayburst. It was just absolutely insane. In English, it wasn't going to be the case. It still came in quite high. Look at Paldea Evolved has been out over a year now, which is crazy. And, you know, we've seen this card sit around 100, and it sat around the 90 to the 95 mark for the longest time, and then it started to decline. Dropped to the lowest, to the low 70s, and now slowly trickling back up to 80. I do expect this to be still a big card in the future. I am kind of happy that it's not the biggest card from the set because it is a trainer card, but it is a nice trainer card, and it's a highly playable one as well, which does help keep the price up. I mean, you know, will it maintain its price? I kind of feel like it does have that potential because it is quite hard to pull, and like I say, I've never pulled it. Next up, we have the Mew EX from Paldea Fate, aka the Bubble Mew, as a lot of people like to call it. $85 for this one. Paldea Fate, there's a ton of product around right now. People to crack packs and have fun. Pull rates are tough for these big boys, you know, from this one and the Charizards. They're really, really tough. And this is the second most expensive card from the set, coming at 85. It's been doing okay. Now, this one's had, again, a bit of a random one, right? It shot massively. It came out around about $90. Then it went all the way up to like 130 and was like, oh my days, this could reach 150 and keep going. But then, of course, the sheer weight of product around and packs being opened dropped this card quite a bit. But it's managed to build its price back up a little bit. My prediction when this set came out was I thought this would be around about a $60 card. Slightly more at 85, which is very, very good. How long will it continue to go? I think it'll be alright. It all depends on how much Paldea Fate is out there and if it gets reprinted. There is a lot still out there at the moment. You get a lot of hits in Paldea Fate, but to get the top SIRs is pretty tough. So that might help keep the Mew at a much higher value. And not only that, a lot of people like Mew. Big fan favorite. Shiny Mew coming in. Pretty awesome. Right, just missing out on the top 5. We have the Raging Bolt EX Long Neck Boy coming in at $87. This is what I mean. A lot of these cards are like a couple of dollars difference. It really is pretty close until we get to the top end and it gets a little bit different. But $87, this is the most expensive card from Temporal Forces. It has jumped up a fair amount over the past few weeks, mainly due to playability. Very popular card used in, you know, really good decks, which has caused this card value to rise. Very similar to what we saw from things like Groudon and the like. You're going to see playable cards go up over time or go up quickly and then may go up over time even more depending on how good they are moving forward, right? If Raging Bolt continues to be a really highly playable card in the future when Temporal Forces, you know, stock, as it were, availability starts to dwindle, then you might see this go up even more. Right now, we're looking at $87. We go back over the past 6 months and it is the highest, well, nearly the highest it's been. It did actually go up to around 100, which was quite surprising. At the time, with that big steep jump, I thought, hang on a minute, there's a little bit of shady market manipulation going on. But no, it wasn't the case. It's just this card is really good to be played, which is fine, you know, and that's what we want to see. We want to see, you know, good value in playable cards, but also, you know, it does impact the value potentially short term. But I think long term, this is still going to be a big fan favorite just because, one, the artwork's really cool. And on top of that, Temporal Forces pull rates are pretty tough. And this is a very nice card, so it'll do quite well. Into the top 5, we nearly have broken the $100 mark. Not quite. Carmine from Twilight Masquerade. Big, big trainer card. This was over $100 and only recently it has fallen quite a bit. Let's take a look at this. It was actually around about nearly $130 and it has dropped by about $30 over the past few days, even, or a couple of weeks, I would say. Since the start of June, it has been falling. This is a big card. I didn't want this to be the top card in the set, and I'm happy that it's not. I'm happy that the Greninja is the top card of the set. This is still one of the nicest full art trainer cards I like so far in Scarlet and Violet. I think this and the Iono are very, very nice. And I believe this is also a playable card as well, so that will also have an impact, just kind of like the Raging Bolt has. But overall, Twilight Masquerade, like I said, it really is just outperforming way more than I anticipated. Pull rates, though, do play a part. Like I say, the pull rates are super difficult. Well, the toughest in Scarlet and Violet, and one of the toughest in the last few years, to be honest, to get these big top pulls. But yeah, beautiful cards, just slightly under $100. I do expect it to continue to fall and potentially fall further down this list moving forward. But right now, doing all right. In at number 4, we're going to 151, the only card from 151 in this list, and that is the Charizard EX. I'm not a huge fan of this art, personally. I do like Charizard, but there are others which I do prefer. 151 is an interesting one. Sealed product is just getting more and more expensive by the day. And the single card prices, I did a video on this, they haven't really moved much, right? The single card prices haven't really shifted. I would expect them to start climbing with product getting harder and harder to get hold of and more expensive, but that hasn't been the case. They've pretty much stayed stagnant, or in this Charizard's case, pretty level, but has been falling. Now, the graded prices, however, have been falling like crazy because everyone's just grading the living daylights out of this set, and that is causing the PSA 10, PSA 9 prices to continue to fall and fall quite a bit. It's going to be interesting, right? If 151 gets reprinted later on the year, let's say, and by a fair amount, you're going to see the prices and the value of these cards fall quite heavily. But then I do believe the strength of 151 of this set is enough to make these cards bounce back then in the future. So I do still feel like they're pretty good. Let's look over the last 6 months. This Charizard, it has been falling pretty much from around 130 down to now 108. Not too bad, right? It was, it was around like 135 highest at 135. So it hasn't fallen that much. And like I say, the next biggest card is the Blastoise, and even then, that's sitting around $40 or so. So there isn't a huge amount of value in 151, like big. There's value, but not huge big chase cards, apart from the Zard. All right, speaking of Zards, we're back again. This time, Paldean Fates. In my opinion, this is the nicest Zard so far in the Scarlet and Violet era, coming in at 112. This one has fallen a fair amount compared to the 151 Charizard. This one has fallen a lot over the past few months. 112 over the past 3 months hasn't really done much, right? But we go back 6 months and we can see it fall from a high of nearly $200, 185 down to 112. Just like the Mew, a lot of Paldean Fates around, a lot of it to open, tough cards to pull, but for it to maintain a price tag of nearly $200 wasn't going to be the case. We kind of knew that it was going to fall. My prediction when I did Paldean Fates was this would be around about $100 card. Pretty close, pretty close. This is a really big, nice card. I really like it. I don't have it in my collection yet. Still haven't pulled it at all. Yeah, this is an absolutely stunning card. And it will do very well. I think it will climb. Similar to the Shining Fates Charizard, I think this one will do much better. Shining Fates was printed into oblivion. Hopefully, Paldean won't suffer the same fate. And then missing out on the top spot, we have the fish Magikarp from Paldea Evolved. The story of the Magikarp is really impressive. This card has done incredibly well. Paldea Evolved booster boxes are going up. This is just a normal illustration rare. This isn't an SIR. This fish has been going upstream, literally $132. Even in the past 3 months, this card has doubled in value, which is absolutely bonkers. We go back over the past year and we can see the rise of the fish going from around $40 to $50 to now over $132. This card has nearly basically tripled in value over the past 12 months. It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. We could be looking at, in my opinion, a real big chase card of the era down the line. I'm not saying this is going to be like a Moonbrown or something, but this is definitely going to be one to look out for in the future. We have pulled it on stream. I don't have it in my collection. Personally, I'm not a fan of the art, but I know that a lot of people do like it. So it, $132 and it's still climbing. Paldea Evolved could get a reprint. More than likely probably will. If it does, depending on how big it is, we might see the card dip a little bit, but then it will continue to climb just because of how difficult it is to pull. And then finally, we have the Greninja from the latest set, Twilight Masquerade. And here's the thing. I would expect this card to drop even more in value since this has come out, because at the moment, people are cracking packs like crazy, but the pull rates are incredibly difficult. This is like a 1 in 900, pack card. This is very difficult compared to like Giratina and Lugias and stuff from Sword and Shield. Greninja, super difficult. Super difficult. And over the past month, we've seen this card yo-yo in price quite a bit. You know, it was around 150, then it went down to as low as 111, then it went right up to 173, then it dipped back down to 125, and now it's back up to 155. So this card's been going all over the show. This could fall from the top spot at any moment. I mean, the amount is swinging by, like $20-$30 swings, with the Magikarp slowly climbing up and approaching it. I do expect the Magikarp to overtake the Greninja, just because of how new Twilight Masquerade is. But I've compared this to the Blaziken from Chill and Rain. In the fact is that I'm pretty sure it came out roughly the same release window as Chill and Rain did in Sword and Shield. But not only that, it is a card which it's a third evolution starter, very colourful like the Blaziken, obviously different style of art, but tough pull rates just like Chill and Rain. Very interesting card, sitting at a big price point. There you have it, guys. Those are the top 10 most expensive cards from Scarlet and Violet, with a couple of honorable mentions. Let me know down in the comments your thoughts about these cards. I think that we could be seeing some big movements with a lot of these big chase cards, so keep an eye on them. Honestly, keep an eye on them. Even if reprints come for a lot of these sets, honestly, keep an eye on a lot of these cards, because we go back and we look at when I looked at the Sword and Shield era, when I first started doing these top 10 lists with like the old arts, right? The most expensive art was the Moonbryon. It was kind of like on its own. But then if you look at all the others, Blaziken, Gengar, Espeon, I remember Gengar being an honorable mention at $90. You know, I remember the Giratina, you know, being pretty high, but nowhere near as high as obviously what it is now. Same with the Blaziken. I remember having the Blaziken at like $70-$80. A lot of these cards, when I first did the list earlier on in the Sword and Shield, were pretty much what these cards are now in Scarlet and Violet. And then look what happened. And I'm not saying these will follow suit, but these have the potential, especially with the tougher pull rate sets, to keep their value and continue to climb. But if you made this far into the video, guys, and you've enjoyed it, make sure to smash the like button and make sure to subscribe for more Pokemon content. And let me know your thoughts down in the comments of these top 10. Is there any of these which you are after in your collection? If I had to pick one card out of all of these that I want the most, I would probably go with the Charizard. I would probably go for the Charizard from Palais and Fate, just because I absolutely love that card. And then I'd probably say after that it would probably be the Groudon, which was the honorable mention actually, would probably be the Groudon, because that is a very nice card indeed. But if you want to know how I ranked all the SIRs from the Scarlet and Violet era, make sure to click the video on screen. And if you want more Pokemon content, guys, you know what to do, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Alright guys, that's it from me in today's video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, you guys are legends, and I'll see you in the next one.